Good morning and welcome. Welcome indeed to another edition of the Mark Mosey Show podcast as we are broadcasting live from the Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Take back control of your life. Call them today, 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Also want to give a shout out to Chumley's Depot in downtown Melbourne where friends meet. Don't forget Sunday Fun Day, live music all summer long at Chumley's Depot, and Walk On Sports Bistreaux in Vieira. Tim Walter's favorite there in Vieira, home of the $5 Tito's and $4 22-ounce Busch Lights all day, every day at Walk On's in Vieira. Also, I have a shirt I'm wearing today. This shirt saves lives. Yes, as our great country station here in Brevard County, 1027 The Hit Kicker, is doing their annual St. Jude Radiothon today and tomorrow. Go to thehitkicker.com to make your donation today. And if you make a big donation, you can get a t-shirt just like Uncle Mark. That's right. Now let's bring him on. The man who's more clean-shaven than me. Yes, he is Tim Walters, Florida Today. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, fresh off my 1-week suspension, Mark. What gives?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I did that. I'm the commissioner, Adam Silver. I've decided your Ric Flair video was so appalling, I suspended you last week from the show. So I hope you had a nice time not appearing last week.
Yeah, I learned my lesson. I'm going to bring something even worse next time I do a parody video for you. One's already in the works, by the way.
You brought a lot of thunder to that show 2 weeks ago. So I feel like I need to bring the thunder today with zaniness. So I have a story for you. Are you ready for this? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So yesterday I went to the DMV in Melbourne, and we had to renew the plates on our work vehicles. And it appears that gets bestowed on me every year. Of all the employees, I have to do it. So I went there yesterday afternoon. What road's it on? Is it on Sarno? I can't think now. It's right by all the antique malls right there in Melbourne. But yes, so I go in there. I'm like, look, I got to update this. So like, here's your number, B1073, whatever it was. So I'm sitting there. There is a couple that walked in. They must be 25 years old. Very nice couple, man and a woman. They sit down. I can't believe I have to say this to you. The boyfriend is wearing a random Boston Celtics jersey, okay? And I'm thinking, do you really want that in your photo? Like, I know it's usually the head shot, but do you really want Boston Celtics on your driver's license unless that's your team? Okay, I thought that was a little weird. Then the girlfriend walked in. Do you know what shirt she's wearing to the DMV? Possibly to get her photo taken. This is a very nice looking lady. Like, oh, this is a nice, upstanding citizen. This, probably gives back to the community. She had a black t-shirt on, and it said at the DMV, I love MILFs. That's what she wore to the DMV. Not the boyfriend. See, you'd think the boyfriend would wear the I love MILF shirt. No, it appears this lady can't get enough. See, you weren't expecting this story, were you? I love MILFs. If she's wearing that to the DMV, what's she wearing to go to court? Like, you need to appear at Vieira at the court at 9:30 in the morning. You can't make this up, Tim. You can't.
I'm just trying to think, okay, so I'm a police officer, and I've just pulled this young lady over for speeding. Let me see your license, ma'am. And you look at the picture. I heart MILFs.
Yeah, you know what? It did have the heart. You're right. You're a better profiler than I am. It said, I heart MILFs. That's what she wore. You can't take this woman seriously. Or maybe she's a woman of her word.
Is the origin of MILF, it's got to be American Pie, Sean William Scott, right? Like, had you ever heard that term before? What year was that, 1999 or 8 or so?
I saw that movie with my sister in the movie theater. I remember this. Stifler's not the first one to say it. When they're at the party, it's the guy from Harold and Kumar says it because he sees the photo of the mother and says MILF. And I think there was a moment in that packed crowd where they're like, what did he just say? Because you'd never heard it before. I think that is the origin. So whatever man came up with that in the script, we salute you, my friend.
Yeah, I guess it was Stifler's mom, so it would have been the mom of Sean. That's what it was. Okay, see, I haven't watched that movie in years. That must have been awkward, Mark, but it couldn't have been more awkward than the time I saw The Hangover with my mother and father-in-law, because that was just, yeah. Not that we can even discuss pretty much anything that happened in that movie, but especially the discussion early in the movie where they're at the convenience store heading to Vegas, and yeah, that was just uncomfortable. Just uncomfortable.
Whose idea was it to see the movie?
Oh, I don't remember. I think my wife and I were going to see it, and they were like, "Oh, we've wanted to see that," and it was like, "Okay, let's go together." And then it was like, "Oh, awkward."
Okay, in high school, my whole family, we saw Something About Mary. I remember doing that, and it's like I'm sitting by my dad when he's looking through like the Sears catalog. Yeah, that happened as a scene. By the way, this is a very family-friendly show. I'm not saying anything too graphic here. The other one, in high school, my mom, sister, and I saw Wild Things with Denise Richards and Matt Dillon. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I had a bar mitzvah when I was 13, and then I had a second one when I saw that movie. That's all I'm going to say.
Sounds like two of your special movie moments have dealt with Matt Dillon. Weird.
You're right. And my mother.
He was great in There's Something About Mary. I think that that's one of the underrated acting roles of our time. What just a dirtbag, how well he delivered the lines. You know, even the part about, you know, where they're like, oh, I thought Rice-A-Roni was the San Francisco treat. Hey, they're trying to change their image. It was just, you know, there was so much wonderful comedy that came from him in that movie.
When Brett Favre shows up in that movie, and this was the height of Brett Favre, where he's winning three MVPs in a row, wins the Super Bowl. And, you know, it sounds like today's culture where everyone's on everything. Like celebrities are every podcast, social media, you know, everywhere. You didn't see that coming because, and this is why it was great writing by the Farley brothers. The whole time she's talking about how she's a 49ers fan. And then her ex-boyfriend's named Brett. And then Brett Favre shows up. You never saw that coming.
Yeah, they even earlier in the movie, they refer to him as Pac-Man. So like Packers, like there were little subtleties. I'll share something else that I've noticed. You know, Ben Stiller, he's got a fairly clean image himself, even though his comedy is a little bit dirty. Yeah. But when you look back into history at the two great athletes that have been in his two movies, Dodgeball and Something About Mary, you have Lance Armstrong and Brett Favre, two men who have become problematic humans since their time in the limelight.
You know what's interesting about that? When you said dodgeball and great athletes, my first thought was Chuck Norris, who shows up. I mean, Chuck Norris was actually a karate champion. I know there's like 50 different memes with him. He's actually, Chuck Norris is an athlete, right? I'm not crazy here.
No, one of the greatest martial artists ever. And to go on another tangent here, because you mentioned Chuck Norris, you know, we're just bouncing off the walls here now, but this is pretty funny. So several weeks back, maybe about a month and a half ago, I'm sitting here in my home office. I have a TV in front of me that people can't see. I was watching Dodgeball, and my 10-year-old daughter ambles into the room, sits down and starts watching it. And she just finds it to be a scream, even though it's fairly inappropriate for a 10-year-old.
A scream. That's how you call it.
She was laughing so hard. And since then, she's probably watched it 100 times because we have it on DVD downstairs. And so she knows who Chuck Norris is just because of the thumbs up, right?
Yeah.
So we're at her goalkeeper practice last week, and the goalie coach is kicking balls at her, and she's diving and rolling around in the mud and stuff. And he made a Chuck Norris reference. And she goes, I know who Chuck Norris is. And he says, how on earth can you know who Chuck Norris is? And she said, I saw him in Dodgeball. And he just nods. And then he follows with this, Mark. This is great. He goes, well, did you know that Chuck Norris was born a month premature? And she goes, no. And he goes, that's so he could get his jump on his enemies.
So corny. It's so corny. All right. The underrated Ben Stiller movie that you have to show your daughter. That is a kid's movie. So he's the bad guy in Dodgeball, but I think that character is just a ripoff of his earlier character where he's the bad guy in Heavyweights, a Disney movie where it's overweight kids who go to the fat camp, and then he takes over as the evil fitness guy that's trying to get them into shape. That's what you need to show your daughter. That movie's awesome. I'd love
Yeah.
to.
I personally have not seen that movie, but my daughter always does associations with people that she sees. And the reason she even sat down to watch Dodgeball with me is because she recognized Ben Stiller as being the orderly from Happy Gilmore, another movie she loves. She's like, he's in Happy Gilmore. And then she just sat down here, and I'm thinking to myself, should she be watching this? Should she not? Why not?
When is she going to be ready for Billy Madison? That's the question.
Oh, she's seen Billy Madison. She's seen all of she loves The Water Boy. Yeah, there obviously we have to she refers to certain scenes as inappropriate scenes, so that's good. Curse words she's referred to as movie words since she was a child. So she's also like a network censor. So like if I try my best not to curse around her, but if one slips out, I immediately get scolded. So it is. It's like
I like she sees the real versions, not the edited for TBS version of it. And the greatest, by the way, if we're going to go there, and then I have actual headlines to go over with you. The greatest TBS, and I say TBS because it would be shown on there constantly when we were growing up. Major League, the edited for TV version, the greatest edit of all time is Roger Dorn telling Wild Thing Vaughn right before he is going to face the batter in the first one, where it's supposed to be strike this bleep out. But in the edited version, it's like strike this out. And I love seeing that every time. So when I see the real version, I get upset now. Like this isn't it.
I'll share with you my favorite edit, and then we can get to real sports. In Die Hard, one time I was watching USA Network, and they were playing Die Hard in the middle of the day. And I kid you not, he goes, "Yippee-ki-yay, Master Farmer."
That's a movie word. Is that what your daughter says instead of swear words?
It's a movie word. Yep.
I'm trying not to laugh when I say this. We're here with Tim Walters. You know what? You and your buddies, you can movie word right to hell. That's what it is.
You're a master farmer.
Okay, we've gone 12 minutes. Master farmer. We've gone 12 minutes. That was more entertaining than anything I saw in the NBA draft last night. I'm going to be on record as saying this. And I am a broadcaster, and I usually don't rip fellow broadcasters, but I'm sorry. The broadcast is so non-threatening and vanilla that I'm falling asleep watching it. I'm like, give me something interesting. Give me someone saying, you know what? I don't like that pick. They should have taken this guy, right? Or this team needs to do this and this for not. None of it. They're like, here's the pick. Great. Good for him. Awesome. Like, it's okay to have a little controversy in the broadcast. I thought it was boring. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, look, after Cooper Flag, most casual fans across the country didn't know anyone else that followed. So, college basketball certainly has a problem with that type of thing. Is just the star power of college basketball is gone, right? It's not like it was several years ago with Zion. Remember that draft class? You had three guys who were all kind of vying who's going to be number one and all of that. It's boring. And now, because the ESPN partners with the NBA, they're too scared to criticize them, because then, the commissioner will come out and he'll chastise the network that they shouldn't be talking ill of their stars. It'll be interesting when Charles Barkley shows up on ESPN next year, because he's always the crusty old guy. Get off my lawn. I hate this game. And, the young guys are like, he needs to shut up and not be so critical. Well, the game it's changed since Barkley's day. It's a lot less exciting. It's a bunch of chuckers. I'll tell this story, Mark. About 5 years ago during the pandemic, I went out just with my daughter one day to one of the parks near here. And we were just shooting baskets on an empty hoop. And another guy about my age came out with his little daughter. and we were just playing around basketball, right?
What happened?
No,
This sound like that a fight break out?
no. So then two teenagers show up, maybe about 9th, 10th grade. One kid a little taller, one kid a little bit shorter, and they wanted to play us, right? And these two kids they were chuckers. They were both trying to chuck. We were doing like I'd pass, I'd roll, go to the basket, layup. He was a taller guy. I'd lob it into him. He'd put it up. These kids, they'd check the ball and they'd chuck it and miss. They'd chuck it and miss. And then when we beat them like 11-2, they were like, you play old head basketball. And I was like, old head basketball, you kids are lazy, slow, and you shoot poor. So it's like the NBA, they shoot better than that, though. But it's a bunch of chuckers. You're trying to get guys who are shooting the corner three because that's probably the most valuable shot in basketball nowadays because it's the closest three. It's the easiest for them to make. It's just, in the 90s, the basketball you and I grew up on, Michael Jordan, Ewing, you get it to the big guy in the post, Olajuwon. They don't do that anymore because the analytics nerds have said, yeah, the three's worth more than the two, so let's get more threes up. But it's made a more boring brand of basketball. You might get 120 points a game instead of the 85 points a game you got when the Knicks and the Heat would play each other in the 90s. But it's not physical anymore. And now with college basketball, that's just a set game where it's just pass, three. And it's not as exciting. It's hard to watch basketball nowadays unless you're really an in the weeds basketball guy.
There's much to unpack with what you just said. There really is. First off, I like you keep saying Chuck over and over again. Those chuckers out there. It sounds like it would be in Happy Gilmore for some reason. These guys are chucking. I imagine in this scenario, you are dressed like Bob Cousy from the 1950s and 60s with the short shorts, and you're running the picket fence, and you guys are going back door, layup. I could see you. You pass the ball in. You're hitting the layup, and they're shooting from the logo 30 feet out, missing like crazy. That's what I imagine. Wow. All right. Here's what's going to be interesting moving forward, and I want your thoughts on this. Now with NIL and how much money, and the schools are going to pay the players, maybe it reverses back now, where players stay in school, and they're all going to be in college compared to like NBA G League Elite or whatever the hell that is, or I'm going to go to Europe. No, maybe now they do all stay in college, and that helps it. Maybe they stay more than 1 year and they go 2, and then maybe that helps the NBA. The other problem is, I can't believe I'm going to say this. Maybe I am getting older. They all looked like they were 12 years old last night. They really did. Like, you could tell a lot of them, like, this guy's going to be a project. This is going to take four years to develop. And he needs to put 25 pounds on as well. I think my eyes have been opened. Tim, do you feel that way as well?
Well, yeah, I've felt old for years. So it's not surprising, but it's funny because they do. It's like the 12-year-old face on a 7-foot body. It's just, it's bizarre to see. But, hey, I look forward to seeing what Cooper Flagg can accomplish. The Magic didn't take anything in the first round because they've traded away. You and I, since I wasn't on suspension last week, we didn't get to talk about Desmond Bain, right? Oh, go ahead.
Wait. Hold on. I got to make sure. All right. I'm going to do this. And I apologize. We're streaming live. Okay. So the Magic, they traded. They had the 15th or 16th pick, but they still had the 25th pick last night. So what they did was they took Jason Richardson's son out of Michigan State, right? Who's about 6 feet tall, left-handed, now you're going to hate me, can hit the outside shot. He can chuck it. Okay. Sorry to tell you that. So I know, look, the Desmond Bain thing, it was confusing with the draft picks, but they're going to do a pick swap next year. They traded the 15th or 16th pick. They still had that pick. So, all right. Just to clarify, I apologize. Okay.
No, I messed up. That's my bad.
No worries.
It was Jace Richardson, so I know who you're talking about. I did see that this morning. It just totally skipped my mind. So apologies to the.
It's okay. They drafted him about 11:30 at night. It's okay. We were both sleeping by that.
Definitely asleep. So I read this morning. But back to Desmond Bain, though. Mark, with all that they gave up, I would have rather almost seen them make a push for Antetokounmpo because, a lot of people, he said recently something to the effect of, some of my favorite cities to play in are in Florida. And people immediately thought, oh, he wants to go to the Miami Heat, like LeBron, like others have done in the past. But if you're Antetokounmpo, would you want to go to that team, which isn't very good, or would you look at Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner and say, I can play with those guys? Now, the thing I like about Bane, again, you talk about chuckers, but he's someone that can make it a lot. So, it makes sense for the Magic because their shooting last year was among the worst in the league from three. I mean, look, they were a really good team. They've got a great core. Adding that obviously is an element you need, but boy, they gave up a lot to get Bane, who, he's been a good player. I think he'll, be a great fit in Orlando for what they do, but I would have loved to have seen a push to get Giannis, which I don't know if that was ever on the table. Obviously, we're not in GM meetings, but
look, maybe they made phone calls. Maybe was, they called up, what do you want? The thing with Desmond Bane is, and it makes me laugh, I saw it this morning, he's 27 years old. He's the oldest guy on the roster. Just thinking, old man River, Desmond Bane, 27, because everyone else is like 24, 23, 25. What I like about him is, compared to Kevin Durant, who's 37, and Durant's still a great player. So Desmond Bane is not your number one option. He's going to be your third option on offense. That's what makes it kind of sexy. So you got Paolo number one, Franz your two option, Bane at three, Suggs is your fourth option. Hey, I'll take that. Fourth. Now, Bane's going to make $40 million this year. That's why, yes, play baseball and basketball, kids. Don't play football. You're going to have a situation now where the window is now because Paolo's going to get his mega extension. Franz already got his. Again, your third option's making $40 million. So that's about it. That's where all the money. And Suggs is going to make, I think it's like $25 million or so. So that's a lot of money. It is. But those guys, especially with the Halliburton injury, we don't know the East. Like you said, the Heat are bad, Bulls are trash, and that breaks my heart to say, but they are. Knicks still don't have a coach. Pacers won't have their best player. Cavaliers don't know how to win in the playoffs. Hey, if you're the Magic, now's the time. Go for it. Win 50 games. Make a deep playoff run. I'm excited, man. And I hope that breaks it down for you. I hope that.
Yeah, and Boston still, even though they've lost one of their two best players, they're still going to be a very good team next year. But you're right. The Magic are young. They're healthy. Bane, easily their highest paid player. After that, Jonathan Isaac is $25 million a year. And then after that, they have a fairly low salary structure. So, obviously you're trying to save up for Banchero's second contract. Got to keep him in Orlando. And I would love to see that happen. They traditionally haven't been able to keep a lot of their stars over the course of history when you look at Shaq and when you look at other people who have come through Orlando. But, looking forward to Bane. And I already have a menu item named for Bane, Mark. So,
okay, before you get to it, I liked ESPN did something last night where for Cooper Flagg, he's from, is it Fremont, Maine? It's one of these towns you've never heard of before. Okay. My very, I'm from Mr. Cool, Florida. So I don't know the towns in Maine, but they did. This is a name you would have came up with. The Main Event. Maine.
Oh.
The Main Event. I like that. Second, do we need to have like Batman Bane, like the villain Bane? Do we need it with the mask? Like, do you need that as a t-shirt for Bane on the Magic? Okay, I'll stop. What's your food item? What do you?
I don't know, Mark. What are we doing? No, that's a terrible Bane. That might be the worst Bane ever.
No fireworks for you, buddy. None of that. Okay.
It doesn't happen anymore. What happened to my fireworks? You shut them off.
Okay. What's the food item then?
All right, so I will be revamping the entire menu because we've lost several players, including my favorite Chuma Okeke with the Zero and Sasiki. He's now on Cleveland. But for Desmond Bane, we're going to add our first Eastern, our first Pacific Rim item with the Desmond Bane lo mein. Oh, it'll be delicious, Mark.
Oh, Do I take it with the Franz fries on the side? Is that what I do?
Hey, if you like French fries, but you got to get your Jalen Suggs suds to drink along with it. And then we'll still, of course, have our Palo Banquero Ranchero burrito, which is still delicious, has our Italian ingredients in it.
Okay. Again, Magic Media Day is at the end of September. You need to go and just ask these questions. The menu, you need to say that to Paulo Banquero. And especially when he's surrounded by 900 media members, you got to raise your hand and be like, hey, by the way, I'm wondering, would you be interested if we had this on the menu on the contour? You need to do it. It'll be great.
I'll walk up to Goga Batatsky wearing the toga, and I'll say, hey, what do you think of the Goga toga? And
he will love it.
They'll remove me. They'll quickly take me out of there.
Let's end with this with Tim Walters of the Florida Today. All right, your Chicago Cubs last week, for the first time in 20 years, had slammin' Sammy Sosa at Wrigley Field. He was there talking to everyone. I like him talking with Pete Crow Alonso. Or I'm sorry, there's too many names in my head. Pete Crow Armstrong. I'm thinking Alfonso Soriano. Like, there's so many random Cubs in my head. Pete Crow Armstrong. What are your thoughts as a lifelong Cubs fan? Sosa back at Wrigley.
Yeah, so a cool story, since you mentioned Pete Crow Armstrong. He became the fastest Chicago Cub to get 20 home runs and have 20 steals. And whose record did he beat? Sammy Sosa. So It was neat to see those two meet each other. But, I'm happy to see Sammy back, apparently in January, mended ways with the Chicago Cubs, which is always a good thing. Sammy, of course, had a rugged time, a tough time, the steroid trial, a lot of the other things that went on in his life. And so to see that reunification, because look, the decade of the 90s for the Cubs was extra special because of Sammy. He was such a great personality. He was somebody that, everybody loved to root for. Him and Mark McGwire and their chase in 1998, which I still have the game where the record was broken. I have the old VHS tape of the Cardinals when that happened. But, just such a special time when Sammy Sosa was there. He's the all-time Cubs leader in home runs. He surpassed Ernie Banks along the way, which is, an incredible feat. But I loved seeing him back there, Mark. It was really neat to see, him back at Wrigley, the fans just cheering so well for him. And, it was a really special moment. So as somebody who grew up watching Sammy, who appreciated what he did, who kind of hated to see what happened, post-career, his last year in Major League Baseball was 2005. He had one season with the Orioles. And then he was gone. And then, we had the trials. And then there was some weird things where Sammy, kind of went Michael Jackson and his skin got super light. And it was just, there were a lot of bizarre things in the story of Sammy Sosa. But now to see him back and joking around and, part of the Cubs and Craig Counsell, saying what an inspiration he was, it was just great to see. So I was really happy for Sammy.
Those stats in 98. 66 homers, and then I think like 159 RBIs. It's just like what was it? Heck, what was it? Greenberg? There was some player he beat from turn of the century with these stats. I saw him play in 98. I love this till the day I die. I saw Sosa play at Wrigley, and I saw McGwire play at Busch Stadium, the old Busch Stadium in 98. I'm happy I saw both of them. The other one, okay, so they won the wild card, which, remember, so the first time since 1984, they made the playoffs?
89.
Oh, no, you're right, 89. So I remember there was a game. I always remember this. I think they're in Milwaukee. There's some game where someone drops the ball, and Ron Santo loses his mind on the call, and then they had to win the next game to get to the playoffs, and who was the closer for the Cubs in 98? The guy with the mustache. Oh, what was his name?
It wasn't Rod Beck, was it?
It was Rob Beck. You're
absolutely
right. Yeah. So they beat the Giants in a one-game playoff, I think, to win the wild card. And that was, it was a big moment in Cubs history. It really was. When he corked the bat in 03, I remember this. They play the Tampa Bay Rays, and the night before they go extra innings, and he gets the game-winning hit. And I was like, oh, big hit for Sosa. And then the next game, again, against Tampa Bay Rays, he hits the ball, and it shatters, and there's cork everywhere. That was shocking at the time. It was. And I remember outside of Wrigley Field, they used to sell 21 Lumber Company as a T-shirt for Sosa. And then the Sox fans, because they do 21 Cork Company. That was the shirt they came up to mess with Sosa. All right, you got to look this up for me. Sosa played for the following teams: the Yankees, the Rangers, the White Sox, the Cubs, the Baltimore Orioles, and I think that's it. Is that correct? As I'm putting you on the spot.
No, I actually have it here in front of me. He never played a regular season game with the Yankees. So he played with the Cubs, White Sox, Rangers, and Orioles. So that was the span of his career. But I'm looking at it here, Mark, and this is, you see this with a lot of guys of the steroid era. So Sammy was a good home run hitter, right? It started in 93. He had 33. Then he followed 25, 36, 40, 36. Then 66, 63, 50, 64, and 49. Yeah, something was going on a little funny there. But he did win the MVP in 98, even though he was 4 homers short of McGuire, because he had a much higher batting average, led the league in runs, led the league in RBIs, had 66 homers. So, just a heck of a year that year.
Okay. I just want to clarify this. Did you see Sosa play in person?
Yes, 2002. I went to Wrigley Field. Carlos Zambrano was the starter, and Sosa was out there. So, I saw him then. I'm trying to think if I saw him. Yes, I saw him down in Miami. We went down there, I want to say 95 and 96 to see the Cubs play at the Marlins. Really, I was more interested back then in seeing Ryne Sandberg, who was my hero. I'll never forget lying on the Cubs dugout with my buddy holding my ankles, me trying to get a ball signed by Sandberg. And he was like 3 people down. They were like, nope, Rhino, you got to go. The game's about to start. And I was so disappointed because I was so close to getting his autograph. But my dad, for Christmas that following year, ended up getting me an authentically signed Ryne Sandberg baseball to make up for it. One other random note, Mark, about 1998 was before that season, because you're right, it was 1989. Don Zimmer, the boys of Zimmer were the last playoff team before 98. Harry Carey died that February, right as spring training got started. It was the 3rd week of February. And so, the Cubs did it for Harry in 98, which I thought was great.
I remember this. And then Chip Carey becomes the broadcaster. And it was crazy. Well, what's funny is in Chicago, so the games would be on WGN, as everyone knows. So they merged with the WB, which would play like Dawson's Creek and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Shows I would watch, by the way. I will admit it. I don't care. I love Buffy. So there were times when the Cubs and the WB schedule would interfere in 97. And Harry Carey did not like this. He's like, what the hell is this? We got to play the Cubs game. I don't care about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I always remember that was like a quote in the Chicago Tribune. It was the best. Harry Carey was the man.
I've been by the Harry Carey statue in Chicago. I have my picture taken by that. One of my favorite Harry Carey moments, if you remember, he used to try and say and spell people's names backward, which would always come off funny. One time they had this catcher. He was a short, stocky Hispanic guy. His name was Hector Villanueva. And he was like, Villanueva backwards. And it was so funny.
Yeah, at the end, I think he fell out of the booth in Miami as well. There it wasn't. Look, Harry was the man. He really was. When we were in high school, for our high school senior graduation photo, we got on a bus. I know you're really gonna hate me now. So our senior photo, we went to Wrigley Field and we were in the bleachers. This was like in January, so it's like snowing and it was awful. But our senior photo for high school was us at Wrigley Field. And I always think about that every time I go there. I really do. And I love that stadium. They'll never, that and Fenway Park, you'll never have that ever again. There's no way. In a neighborhood, no way. And I feel like you and me, Tim Walters, when they have the home run derby in 2027 at Wrigley Field, we need to fly to Chicago, stay with my brother. Don't even get tickets for the derby. And we need to be on Waveland Avenue with 50,000 other fans. And we need to be out there. Let's do it. Come on.
I'm there, Mark, and might help us get some foul balls. We should wear the gear that the Road Warriors used to wear with the giant spikes. So if anybody gets too close, man, we'll just spike them.
I like when Sosa was when Congress, in simpler times, is how I'll put it, with politics. Congress had McGuire, Sosa, Rafael Palmeiro. They're all there. And Sosa's like, I can't speak English. He's like, I know. It's the best. It was such a great move by Sosa. Like,
hey, he had been away from baseball for a few years. English wasn't his first language. You lose that after speaking it for 20 years.
Yeah, no, sorry. When I get summoned to jury duty in Vieira, first off, I'm going to wear my I Love MILFs t-shirt to court. I'm also going to say I don't speak English. Sorry. No habla. I can't stop that laugh.
The same road trip that I took, Mark, where we went to Wrigley Field, this was actually a cool baseball road trip. I think I've talked about it before. We went from here in Brevard to Old Yankee Stadium, up to Fenway, over to the Hall of Fame, over to Chicago and back. Well, on the trip to New York, we're walking through the streets of New York City, and I'm with my friend Rob, who's about 6'6", might even be 6'7". He was huge. He was a former college pitcher, the whitest white guy you're ever going to see. And this girl walks up to him with a clipboard, and she's like, would you like to sign this petition for whatever? And he looks at her and he goes, no hablo inglés. And then he walked right by her.
That's so ridiculous. Next week, we will not. Okay, next Thursday and Friday is 4th of July. Would you like to come on next Wednesday and discuss a very important topic with me? The 40th anniversary of Back to the Future. 40 years ago it came out. Are you okay with doing this with me?
Jumping gigawatts. I'll be there, Mark. Don't suspend me again. I'm sorry. Now, people think I was really suspended. I wasn't. And it was a holiday.
That's what you think. It's set in 1985. He goes back to 1955. So if the movie comes out today, he goes back to 1995. Would that be the movie?
Hey, he'd be there at my high school graduation in 95, my fall semester at the University of Florida, living in the dorms. You know what, Mark? I wish I could go back 30 years ago. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it would. Tim Walters, Florida Today, my man. Thank you so much for your help and have a great day. All right.
I appreciate it, Mark. And I love it when a plan comes together.